Oh, hello, Ken. Oh, did anyone message for the?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elliot Payne. I'm the president of Minneapolis City Council. And before we convene our meeting, we have one presentation of an honorary resolution. This resolution is recognizing Lisa Brock for her service and dedication to the city. And I will welcome Councilmember Osmond and Ellison and Clerk Carl for this resolution. All right, I'm gonna sneak in. I got one.
We're gonna take turns, right?
Yes.
I'll take it in a minute.
All right. Honoring Lisa Brock for her service and dedication to the city of Minneapolis. On January 4th, 2010, Lisa Brock began her employment with the city of Minneapolis as a policy aide following the election of Councilmember Kevin Reich to the Ward 1 office, and capably served the constituents of Ward 1 for 10 years. Thank you very much. She earned her master's degree in English from the University of Minnesota and was employed as a corporate manager and a freelance arts writer for the Star Tribune prior to her tenure at the city of Minneapolis. And
Whereas Ms. Bragg was promoted in January 2021 as a legislative clerk in the city office, city clerk, and has provided a professional secretariat service for the city council and its committees, along with the Board of Estimate and Taxation, ensuring access to the city legislative process for the city elected officials, city staff, and residents. She is valued and trusted team leader and mentor to the newly hired clerks. Even though she jokingly tells her colleagues that while there is no I in a team, there is also no in a team in Lisa and where.
Whereas Ms. Brock has diligently worked to provide policymakers, departments, and the public with access to the official acts and decisions of the city government by assisting in the preparation, processing, publication, and preservation of a variety of legislative records, including publication and maintenance of the city charter and code of ordinances, as well as having served on departmental work groups to develop a new constituent tracking system and a training manual for appointed boards and commissions, among various other accomplishments. And whereas Ms. Brock stays physically active by participating in city-sponsored fitness activities, along with encouraging coworkers to regularly attend workout classes, and was recognized in January 2024 as the Fitness Center Member of the Month. Applause to that. Her favorite workout song is Greenback Boogie by I'm a Robot, and she enjoys indoor rock climbing and cross country skiing, or cross country falling down in the winter months. And whereas Miss Brock looks forward to spending more quality time with her family, her husband, son, and soon-to-be daughter-in-law, as well as traveling with her family, a well-earned reward for her devoted service to the city of Minneapolis and its residents.
now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and city council do hereby congratulate Lisa Brock for her 15 years of service and commitment to the city of Minneapolis and present this honorary resolution together with their most sincere thanks and appreciation, and wish her much happiness and fulfillment in her retirement and future endeavors. Thank you. would you like to say anything, Lisa?
I would just like to thank you all and to say that there has not been a day that I have come to work for the city of Minneapolis that I have not felt blessed and grateful to be able to be here. My team, my colleagues, everybody that works in the city, my family who supported me. Thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Carl?
Yeah, sure. Lisa, on behalf of the entire clerk's office and the city council, the legislative department today, you've been an excellent member. As the president said, you started out on the council side running the Ward 1 office and taking care of everyone. You moved that spirit over to the clerk's office, and I'm most grateful for the fact that not only did you quickly become one of our most reliable clerks, but the mentorship and the development you brought to new clerks on, and the friendship that you've given to everyone that you encounter throughout the city, whether they're in our department or not. You are a steady, reliable, calm presence in the city, in our department. We will miss that, but we wish you so much happiness in your next adventure. We know we'll be in touch with you in the future, so best of wishes and thank you. I know Jackie and Ken will want to say things too, so I'll run the mic down to Jackie and maybe Ken can grab one from here.
Well, I told Casey that I'm not good at public speaking and I might start crying, so it's been a pleasure. We love you and just good luck.
So I just want to say on the record, because council is all about being on the record, that I am deeply going to miss Lisa because she so we've been in the clerk's office for roughly the same amount of time. However, she has a breadth of knowledge that I just do not have and very big shoes to fill. And she reads over all my actions and all my reports and finds multiple errors that I should catch at this point. And I don't know what I'm going to do without you, but I will figure out a way to soldier on. And I'm so excited for this next chapter for you.
I'll just add, Lisa and I started working for a council member as well, like Lisa did. So I worked with her in the trenches with council members for 3 years. So got to know Lisa in that capacity before we both transitioned to the clerk's office. I've always had a special kinship with her just because we were both English majors. We're both proofreading everything you do and judging you for your grammatical errors. And we will continue to do so. But yes, best of luck in the future, Lisa, and we'll, stay in touch.
Well, an off-the-cuff comment, but I'll state the obvious. First of all, you served Ward 1 so well. Second of all, and everyone knows this, you made me look way much better than I was. So I'm very grateful for that forever. But I'll also say that I know for a fact what you stated is so true. You love this city, and I knew every day you honored serving it, and you did it absolutely so well. Thank you.
I just wanted to add, thank you, Kevin, for bringing Lisa into the fold and bringing you into City Hall. And I wanted to just say, to add on to the clerk's comments, you not only brought friendship and mentorship to the clerks, but also to our staff and to us. When we come into office representing our various wards, we come into office with a certain mission in our minds about how this job's going to go, and then we run right into sort of the technical aspects of this job. We run right into maybe not always knowing exactly how to execute our vision. We can't do this job without the clerks. We can't do this. Our staff can't do this job, their jobs without the clerks. It's how they make us look better than we actually are. And so you extended that mentorship, that development, and that friendship to our staff and to us as well. And that's going to be sorely missed. So thank you so much for your service to the city.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to call this regular meeting of the City Council for December 12th to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Wansley.
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Present.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Present.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Present.
Councilmember Cashman.
Present.
Councilmember Osman.
Present.
Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Councilmember Ellison.
Here.
Councilmember Koski.
Present.
Vice President Shugtai.
Present.
President Payne.
Present.
There are 13 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Before we begin the meeting, I want to offer a friendly reminder to all members and staff that this meeting is broadcast live to enable greater public participation. The broadcast includes real-time captioning as a further method to increase the accessibility of our proceedings to the community. Therefore, all speakers need to be mindful of the rate of their speech so that our captioners can fully capture and transcribe all comments for the broadcast. We ask all speakers to moderate the speed and clarity of their comments. With that, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. I have one proposed amendment, which is considering the consideration of Mayor Fry's veto of the 2025 General Appropriation Resolution, which I propose we add to as unfinished business number 4. That motion is printed out just so that we have the record of that. And may I have a motion to adopt the agenda, including that amendment?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the agenda is adopted as amended. Finally, we have the referral of petitions, communications, and reports to proper committees. May I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those matters have been referred. The next order of business is the presentation of reports from our standing committees. We have only one report this week from our Committee of the Whole, which will be presented by its chair, Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President Payne. The Committee of the Whole is bringing forward 4 items today. Item number 1 is the appointment boards and commissions administrative reforms, dissolving the Minneapolis Animal Care and Control Advisory Board, the Violence Prevention Steering Committee, and the Futuro Latino Empowerment Commission. Item number 2 is the Minnehaha Creek Watershed Board of Managers appointment. Item number 3 is the alley funding repair schedule legislative directive. And item number 4 is considering a contract amendment with Axon Enterprise for Taser 10 related products and virtual reality training services for the MPD. This item was forwarded without recommendation. However, the fiscal note on the Axon Taser 10 contract amendment has been revised per discussion in yesterday's Committee of the Whole meeting. Specifically, the language and assumptions have been clarified per the Budget's Office advice. So with that said, I will move all 4 items for approval.
Councilmember Chavez has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the report is adopted. Thank you, colleagues. That completes the reports from our agenda. The next order of business is the introduction and referral calendar. Council members Cashman and Chugtai move to introduce the subject matter of an ordinance amending Appendix C1 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances related to the CenterPoint Energy gas franchise for the first reading and referral to the Climate and Infrastructure Committee, repealing the existing franchise ordinance for gas distribution system and passing a new one. Second, council members Cashman and Chugtai move to introduce the subject matter of an ordinance amending Appendix D1 of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances related to the Xcel Energy Electric franchise for first reading and referral to the Climate and Infrastructure Committee, repealing the existing franchise ordinance for electric distribution system and passing a new one. This ordinance was intended to be noticed at our last meeting along with the gas franchise ordinance, but was left off the agenda due to a clerical error. Unanimous consent is required to bypass notice. Finally, Councilmember Wansley moves to introduce the subject matter of an ordinance amending the Housing Maintenance Code for first reading and referral to the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, prohibiting the use of algorithmic devices that perform calculations of non-public competitor data to advise landlords on vacancy or rental rates. Is there any discussion on these introductions? I'll recognize Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. I just want to give some context to the item that I'm introducing or noticing, which is the use of algorithms in rental rates ordinance. So, colleagues, you may have seen that the United States Department of Justice is taking legal action against the company RailPage in conjunction with bipartisan coalition support comprised of both state and federal leaders. RailPage is a service for landlords that recommends rent levels based on algorithms. And according to RailPage's own data, over 7% of rental units in Minneapolis use RailPage, and Minneapolis landlords accept RailPage's recommended rent levels 46% of the time. The Department of Justice is suing RailPage on the grounds that it is violating both antitrust and consumer protection laws by essentially artificially manipulating the market to drive up rents. So I am giving notice of intent to introduce an ordinance that would essentially ban the use of algorithmic rent setting for Minneapolis landlords. This is a simple consumer protection policy that we can implement as part of a growing national movement to limit exploitative big corporations from manipulating our housing market and harming renters for their own profit. That said, I also would like to request that Councilmember Chavez be added as a co-author, as he's also been in conversations with housing advocates and renters in his ward about how this is impacting housing conditions in his respective neighborhoods too.
Thank you for that. Clerks, do you got that? All right, great. Seeing no further questions, I will have the clerks call the, Mr. Clerk?
Oh, mistake, sorry.
Oh, okay. I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and these matters will be referred to the respective committees in the next cycle. The next order of business is resolutions. As shown on the agenda, we have one honorary resolution. Are there any questions or comments? There's two honorary resolutions. Are there any questions or comments from council members? May I have a motion to adopt these? The clerk, is there a second?
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those resolutions are adopted. We have a number of unfinished business items. Our first is consideration of the 2025 and wage schedules for appointed employee group. This item was postponed from our December 5th council meeting as this item was reported out of the budget committee. I will recognize that committee's chair, Vice President Chuck Ty, for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will move to deny these salary increases.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Councilmember Palmisano.
Colleagues, the only net reduction during this week's budget deliberations that this body made, other than putting off the ERP software implementation, was a $600,000 reduction at the expense of denying a cost of living increase to 161 city staff and their step increases. People serving in the public sector jobs understand this, but for those that don't, this is about the progression of a career in a public sector field where bosses don't call you into their office or give annual raises per se. You get cost of living adjustments and you get step progression in your public sector career. What is the cost of that? I'm not sure. We're yet to know the cost of denying our employees their cost of living increase. I want to be clear, that's not a raise. that was the cost of what we did in every negotiated labor contract, on average, 4%. What is the cost of demoralized employees? What will be the cost of replacing some of these dedicated workers who bring an incredible amount of untransferable historical knowledge, who don't feel valued, and choose to find other employment where they are valued? All we have done here is kick a budget crisis down the road, and you're doing so at the expense of these employees. I greatly object to this motion.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. I'm going to vote no on this. I just find this to be in really poor taste to do this cost of living adjustment. It does a disservice to our employees. It sends a strong signal that they're not valued. We gave this to our own employees, to our own aides. We should give it to everybody else. It's just a normal part of business working for this enterprise. I will be voting no. I encourage you to also change your votes and vote no as well.
Councilmember Chugtai. Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to correct the record very briefly. There are several reductions that were made to the 2025 city budget, including, yes, a $5 million reduction to the Enterprise Resource Platform Replacement Project, as well as a $1 million reduction to the Technology Improvement Plan for things like conference room modernization, and that this item that is before us right now accounts for $1,070,000 some odd dollars reduction to the overall budget. Thank you.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President Payne. Can you clarify the motion in front of us?
Yes, the motion is to deny the salary.
Okay, so aye if you want to deny. Thank
Correct.
you.
Seeing no one else in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion to deny the salary adjustment.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Nay.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainbow.
No.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
No.
Councilmember Koski.
No.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 7 ayes and 6 nays.
That carries, and that item is adopted. Our next item is consideration of the 1-year extension of the letter of agreement with the Police Federation for critical staffing overtime. This item was postponed from our December 5th council meeting, and I was able to follow up with our labor relations director, our city attorney, and the police chief on this. My big question was there an opportunity to do some reforms around this letter of agreement? In consultation with all those conversations, particularly with the city attorney, this goes back to our original contract approval around this discourse around, do we want to bargain reforms or do we want to do the reforms that we can do by right through management? Having a deeper conversation with the chief, he's actually forwarded me some policy language late last night based on some conversations I had, particularly on my concerns around officer wellness and reforms we want to see around off-duty work. I can read some of these amendments to the policy, but I think the big one here is that off-duty employment shall only be considered once department duties have been satisfied. That's a new policy he's putting in place in response to that conversation, as well as a number of other reforms that I can get this distributed out to the body. But just wanted to give some of that context as to why this was delayed. Otherwise, this item was reported out of the Administration Enterprise Oversight Committee, and I will recognize that committee's chair, Councilmember Wansley, for a motion.
Thank you, President Payne. I believe this item was referred to this committee without recommendation, so we can just take up the item.
So Councilmember Wansley has moved approval of this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Vice President Chuck Tai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm wondering if it might be possible for you to just explain some of the other policy reforms briefly here.
Sure. Happy to. Would you like me to do that first, Councilmember Rainville, or would you like to jump? Microphone.
You know, I speak briefly, so I just want to thank you for taking the time to, get your questions asked, to dig deep into this. I'm especially grateful for the officer wellness part. As an understaffed police force, we don't want them to be overworked and be tired and be making bad decisions because they're tired. So I appreciate you spending the time on the officer wellness portion.
Thank you. I will read just the highlighted portions that were amended in the policy. So, other department duties shall be prioritized after the employee's primary duty assignment. This includes any overtime, court, and special duty. Off-duty employment shall only be considered once department duties have been satisfied. Off-duty employment. Employees shall not work off-duty employment if doing so will cause them to be in violation of the provisions of this policy, including the above limitation on hours worked and required rest periods. Employees who violate the hours worked policy due to off-duty employment are subject to discipline as well as having their off-duty employee privileges rescinded. Vice President Chuck Tai, is that?
Thank you, Mr. President. I really appreciate you just stating those before we consider this item. I wonder if it's possible to get that language added to the LIMS file too for the public record.
I'll make sure to get this forwarded to the clerks.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wansley?
Thank you, President Payne. I wish I had the opportunity to have seen this right before now. It's hard to try to process this in real time as you're reading it. One question that I immediately had just from hearing you read it is this policy change that was shared with you from the chief, essentially also saying that the chief basically has the ability to deny off-duty?
It appears this policy does give the chief has the authority to put some limitations on those shifts.
But it's not clarify if, in the approval process, essentially, he still has the ability to approve or deny. Or city attorneys might know.
Madam City Attorney?
Council President, council members, so I'm sort of frantically trying to pull up the injunction language, but there is language in the injunction that essentially says that regulations that are required to, and I'm sorry, I'm going off of my memory, are required to ensure that off-duty doesn't interfere with the work of the police department are allowable.
Right. I think, City Attorney, you're mentioning things about the injunction. It seems like what was shared with President Payne was potential policy changes that might have been made recently as it pertains to off-duty. So, again, this seems like maybe two separate things that's happening.
Council President, Councilmember Wansley, I guess my point is I'm not actually aware of those policy changes, I just happen to not be plugged into that, but they would be allowable from my perspective under the injunction. So,
okay,
that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I'll add. This was I had my conversation with the chief. Just with everything we were doing with the budget, didn't happen until yesterday afternoon or so, and he promised he would get me some language. That didn't come until pretty late in the evening last night. So I actually, as this agenda item was coming up, I was searching my inbox to confirm whether or not he had shared that policy language. So it's happening in real time.
And then also the provision around officer wellness, because I know my office has been in multiple communications with the city attorney's office around this particular provision, because that's one of the reasons why I was not necessarily in favor of this extension, because it's still unclear of what safeguards are being put in place to make sure that we're not putting overworked and basically officers, basically in continuous rotation, out in the streets. And when we had the presentation in the AO committee, Chief essentially said that's basically the reality that we were in, where I do have to essentially put tired officers on the streets because of, he named staffing challenges. And I did ask for a clarifying question too of, I know, former Interim Chief Huffman had put in place some more restrictions around overtime in regards to like protecting or safeguarding officer wellness. And I do believe one of the initial actions that Chief O'Hara did take up when he first took on this position was actually rolling back some of that. And in committee, he mentioned he did not. I do believe that still is the case. I don't think that was factual. So I'm still unclear again of like how whatever policy changes were shared with you, if there was anything around officer wellness, because in my communications, it still didn't feel certain of like how this extension is not further exasperating like the potential risk of us not only again putting tired officers on the streets, but tired officers mean they could then be a harm to themselves or be a harm to civilians. And then we're putting in a situation where we're paying millions of dollars in some level of a settlement, either through PTSD or through a legal settlement to a potential victim of essentially police violence. So I wasn't sure if that got fully fleshed out to any changes to officer wellness and what they share with you.
So I raised that issue with the chief yesterday in my conversation with him around my concerns about that, and specifically around the concern that my understanding was also that he had made changes to the limitations on hours. I actually only read the amendments that he added to this policy, but this is the limitations on hours policy. And in here, and actually in the nuanced conversation that we had, basically that previous policy under Interim Chief Huffman was a limitation of hours in a given work week, and he had expressed that it was a challenge to hold officers accountable to that because the pay period is longer than one work week. So in reading the policy as written right now, I'll read this out loud for the record. Time limits and rest requirements. To support both employee wellness and department readiness, employees shall observe the following time restrictions on work. 1, total work in a pay period. Employees shall not work more than 160 hours total in a pay period. So that's in alignment with the limitations of the pay period tracking rather than the 1 week tracking. 2, day off each pay period. Employees shall have at least one full 24-hour day with no work shifts in any capacity in each pay period. 3, rest between shifts. Employees shall have at least 8 consecutive hours off within every 24-hour period. And then 4, which is the new policy that I had just read, off-duty employment. Employees shall not work off-duty employment if doing so will cause them to be in violation of the provisions of this policy, including the above limitations on hours worked and required rest periods. Employees who violate the hours worked policy due to off-duty employment are subject to discipline as well as having their off-duty employee privileges rescinded.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for providing that context. Again, I've been trying to have a lot of conversations with the CAO office around this piece of just mitigation to make sure we're not, especially in conversations around budget, and what the public also often doesn't hear about is the reason why you're seeing increases in your property taxes is largely because of the mismanagement of MPD and the fact that we're having to enter into now a second consent decree. We've had to pay out tens of millions of dollars in settlements. So you see that on your property taxes is going largely to one department. So I want to make sure we're not replicating similar conditions that's going to put us in a financially precarious position. And it's good to hear some of these policy changes that were not shared in the actual committee when we took this up for deliberation. So thanks for providing that information.
Thank you. Going back to the queue, I will recognize Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks for doing this work. I just wanted to ask about the policy change piece, because I know we did approve a new policy transparency technology earlier this year, where the police policy manual was going to be put into a new website for more transparency about how changes were made, when they're made, et cetera. And, I do see that the MPD policy and procedure manual that we do have on our current website was updated 9 days ago, so it is being updated regularly. But do you have an update on when that new website and technology will be rolled out?
I do not, and in fact, you raise questions that I have as well around like what is the normal procedure for policy updates, especially under the settlement agreement. I don't know that the council president calling the chief and then in a 24-hour window getting language turned around is the appropriate workflow for policy development. But maybe I should call on the city attorney to speak to that.
Oh, goodness. So, Council President, council members, you're tapping my memory of what's in the settlement agreement. So there is a process in the settlement agreement to make policy changes. That particular process applies to the types of policies that are actually called for in the settlement agreement, and I don't have a recollection of whether this would be one of those bucket policies. But nevertheless, even if it is, there are provisions for the chief to make like quick real-time policy changes, and if it is in one of those buckets that has to go through the process, then it can go through the process subsequent. So, I mean, there are, and you know that we are working closely with OLIFA, so there are ways to amend the policies, quickly to deal with things that need to be dealt with.
Thank you. Just to conclude my comments, I think policies are only as good as the public can digest them, because the only way that policies are valid is if we can hold people accountable to them. And so I just think it's really important, and I'm not saying within the window of today or by the end of the year, but within the new year, I find it really important to get an update on that technology that we invested in, where the status of that website is, and how we as a council and all residents can view and track the changes and policies that are being made at the MPD.
I think that's actually a really good note, and I'm going to look over to Councilmember Chavez, because that might be a good, either public health and safety, but I might even suggest committee of the whole and our subcommittee on the settlement agreement would be a good venue for update on what is this workflow on how policy is going to be updated and implemented. Because I know that we do have a portal on the city website that allows for public comment on any draft policy before it's adopted. Obviously, the chief sent this last night. It hasn't had the opportunity to be published to that public portal for that open comment period. So I think that we should actually diligently work through that in that way. Councilmember Palmisano.
Colleagues, critical staffing is double pay. That's why it's attractive. My understanding is that some levels of police employees are required to work one single mandatory shift of it per 28-day cycle. The point here is that it's, except for one shift, it's not required, but it's very attractive because it's double pay, and it should be rare. This letter, and we spoke about this at committee, as to just how rare that would be, right? Like, is there any incentive to go from a group waiting until a chief is so desperate to have to say that it's critical staffing in order for people to accept it? Taking care of our city employees is taking care of our city. That was part of my point on the last item. We don't deliver these services directly to residents, whether it's the things that we do here as a body, the way that we're supported by our entire IGR team, nor do we deliver police services ourselves. We are relying on our nearly 4,000 city employees across the board to do all of the things that the city does. I also want to remind you that at committee, per Chief O'Hara, the critical staffing overtime are typically the most undesirable shifts, right? They're overnight shifts. They're shifts that are very difficult to fill in the first place. Until our police department is fully staffed, we need to incentivize officers to fill these open shifts so that we can keep at least a minimal amount of coverage in our city at all times. The long-term solution here is hiring more officers, and we're making progress on that. It won't be immediate because the CSOs and others, they're not out there working alone. They're going to need others to work with them for a while, and that's part of what this is for. We do have a lot of junior CSOs and others working on a full post certification, but they're not yet full officers, and so they need to be working with somebody else that has that kind of post certification and authority. Thank you.
Colleagues, I forwarded the email to the clerks for publication in LIMS. I just forwarded it to all council members so that you have that language as well for your reference. And with that, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the agenda is adopted. Items 3 and 4 are the reconsideration of 2 resolutions vetoed by the mayor. The first is a veto of Resolution 2024-R-430, expressing solidarity with nonviolent campus activism, opposing war, and supporting Palestinian human rights, adopted at our last meeting. The second is a veto of Resolution 2024-R-442, the 2025 General Appropriation Resolution. I'll ask the clerk to explain the procedure for us in terms of reconsidering the mayor's veto of these items. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you noted, resolution number 430 was returned with the mayor's veto and his objections in writing, and pursuant to City Charter Section 4.4C3 and Council Rule 7.8, any act vetoed by the mayor is returned for automatic reconsideration as provided in the rule. That reconsidered act is then placed before the body in the same form, without debate, without amendment, and the immediate question posed to the council is as follows. Shall the decision of the City Council stand notwithstanding the veto of the mayor? If at least 2/3 of the council votes in the affirmative, then the mayor's veto is overridden, and the original act, as passed by council, is then adopted. That means that an override requires a minimum of at least 9 affirmative votes. Otherwise, the mayor's veto is sustained and the original act fails. So with that, Mr. President, I am ready to call the roll on the motion to reconsider the mayor's veto of resolution number 2024-R-430. This is the resolution expressing solidarity with nonviolent campus activism.
So an aye on this would be a vote to overturn the veto. A nay vote on this would be a vote to sustain the veto. Are there any questions about the procedure for the clerk? Seeing none, we will begin with item number 3 on our agenda, the motion to reconsider the resolution relating to nonviolent campus activism opposing war and supporting Palestinian human rights. To override the veto requires a minimum of at least 9 affirmative aye votes. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Nay.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Nay.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Nay.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
No.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 7 ayes and 6 nays.
That motion fails and the mayor's veto is sustained. The resolution expressing solidarity with nonviolent campus activism is not adopted. Finally, we will reconsider item number 4, the 2025 General Appropriation Resolution. Again, to override the veto requires a minimum of at least 9 affirmative votes, that is ayes. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Nay.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Nay.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 9 ayes and 4 nays.
That motion carries. The veto is overturned and the 2025 General Appropriation Resolution is adopted. Our next item of business are announcements. I'll ask if there are any announcements from council members. Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. Just a couple of comments on both the vetoes we took up. So first, with the nonviolent protest one, I just want to share with the students that I'm sorry at this point in time that both, the mayor and some of my colleagues are still in the place where we can't see the tragic injustice being committed. and not just have the courage to stand up for what's right. And I know while censoring the alleged minor property damage in this conversation is important for some in this conversation, I do know that the students who are fighting to end the ethnic cleansing that has killed thousands of innocent people, primarily women and children in Gaza, you all again, still remain some of the most brave and courageous people that inspire me. And I know millions of others to stay in this fight to fight for a free Palestine. And I hope that, again, you recognize that your bravery is inspiring many folks to take bold and necessary action. I'm hopeful that just as we did with Black leaders who stood up and took over Morrill Hall in the 1970s in solidarity for or looking to advance civil rights advancements and fight against racial segregation. And they are being honored by the University of Minnesota right now in the past weeks. I feel very certain that unfortunately, years from now, we're going to experience the same conundrum with you all. And it's unfortunate that we couldn't do what's right in this current moment. Also, in switching to the budget veto override, I do want to just share a couple of things because there's lots of just misinformation going out there, especially contrary to what's being shared by Mayor Fry as he's doing his current press tour. I just want to say thank you to my colleagues once again for showing the political leadership to use our budgetary authority to advance the needs of working class residents and communities across the city. And I will argue that the reason that 70 plus amendments had to happen at all is because the mayor's proposed budget was completely, and I believe one of my colleagues shared this, but it was completely out of touch with the most pressing needs of our residents, especially those residing in our most underserved and under-resourced communities. And again, so much misinformation has gone out there as it pertains to this budget. And I know a number of us, we don't want to have to tackle every single false statement that has been made. But I do want to address the claims by Mayor Fry that has been saying that the council has took harmful actions as it pertains to encampments, and just acknowledge the fact that the administration's current policy basically stands to expend significant resources on encampment clearings, which have shown, to not reduce homelessness. They just simply move unsheltered folks from one block to another. And this has been the case for years, despite data showing that this ruthless tactic does not help the solution. Also, I need to make it clear that the actions that this body took does not stop the mayor from continuing many of his failed approaches to homelessness, such as encampment clearings, which, again, has cost taxpayers millions of dollars. But what this council did do this budget cycle was reprioritize existing resources to advance a housing-first approach, which data does show tends to be the most effective approach when responding to unsheltered homelessness. And because of this body taking that action, significant resources will be put into this effective strategy to reduce homelessness. We've shared a number of those over the coming days, one of them being the investment in emergency housing vouchers, which based off of Hennepin County's own projections could house up to 30% of unsheltered residents. We've invested in stabilizing Avivo Village and the expansion of stable homes, stable schools. I also just want to say thank you to Council Vice President Chuck Tsai and Council Member Koski for leading a very effective, transparent budget process. Despite, tons of information out here, you all made sure that this process was done in a democratic and transparent way. And you worked with every single council member that was interested to make sure that our priorities was reflected in this process and incorporated in the budget. And I want to thank you for your leadership on that. I'm just very proud, again, of the action that this council took. And I do want to note that we're going to have to use our oversight authority every single step of the way to ensure in the coming months that the administration actually administers the city operations to support the budget priorities that we did pass. And I'm very glad that we passed the overall equitable budget that honors and addresses some of the most pressing needs that many of our residents have been experiencing for years and have asked for help, have asked for resources, and have been denied and deprived of that, especially under this administration. So I just want to say thank you, and I hope in the coming weeks we're able to celebrate many of the gains and wins of this budget, as opposed to having to combat more misinformation from a mayor that is very very, very focused on making this a political spectacle instead of just actually acknowledging we did the work that his administration failed to do.
Please
So
don't
thank
ascribe
you.
motives.
Sure.
Vice President Chuck Tai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I didn't get a chance to do this the night we adopted the budget, but I just wanted to share a round of thank yous. Now that we have approved a general appropriations resolution and we have a 2025 city budget, wanted to start by thanking the budget office within our Finance and Property Services Department, our budget director, Jane DeSenza, and the incredible team that she works with and oversees. In particular, I had the opportunity to work very closely with Director DeSenza and Justin Colson in the budget office, and want to thank them for their tireless work on this year's budget, both in, the budget office works year round, and the opportunity to work with them from when the recommended budget came out until we adopted the final budget has been very transformative for me. I wanted to thank also the mayor's cabinet, for their continued efforts to work with us as we navigated a really tricky and oftentimes really difficult and painful conversations in the process of adopting this upcoming year's budget. And then I wanted to thank our city attorney, Kristen Anderson, and her incredible team. In particular, I wanted to uplift our new ethics officer, Dan Abelson. Worked with him at all hours of the night over the Thanksgiving holiday, and just has been incredibly responsive. And I deeply, deeply appreciate that. We would not have made it through this budget season without your team. Thank you. Thank you. And then I wanted to thank our clerks, and in particular Ken and Paul for their work on the budget committee. As you know, I went through some staffing changes in my office, and the way that you just made sure that nothing slipped through the cracks. It is incredible. Thank you for all you do. And we've said this many, many times up here, and nothing works without the clerks. It is so true, and I don't just want to thank you and of course, Mr. Carl. And then finally, or no, not there yet. Two more, I promise. And then I wanted to thank the incredible team of aides that exist in all of our office. In particular, the aides that in all of your offices that were working most closely on the budget. Just like going down the row here. I know I had several conversations with Ruth in Councilmember Palmisano's office, and Kanani and Celeste held it down in Ward 2, and Bethany did an incredible amount of work on this budget, and so on, and then of course Kai in my office. We have an incredible team of aides, they hold us up too, and we couldn't do this work without them. And then finally, this is the last one, promise. I want to thank all of you for engaging in this process. I know it has been really difficult, and we made it through to the end. Congratulations, we're done with all of our meetings for the year now, and we don't have to figure out a budget crisis. That's exciting. But just thank you for your trust and for continuing to engage in this really long journey. This is my first time being a chair of a committee, and I just thank you. Seriously. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Palmisano.
Mr. Chair, I also would like to start by sharing my perspective about what I'm reading and hearing over the past couple of days. The mayor proposed a budget of 8.1% property tax increase in August. It was the Board of Estimate and Taxation, whose council representatives are yourself and Council Vice President Chugtai, who increased the budget levy to 8.3 in September. I believe late September is when that has to happen. But it is unicorn math to be out there claiming victory that we reduced the levy by 1.4%, or roughly $7.12 million for 2025, but then not acknowledge the $6.5 million and more of new spending that we added in. Add to that several amendments that take away basic city services in trade for new programs that this council wanted to add in. So the only net reduction this body made was a reduction at the expense of, one, denying a cost of living increase to 161 city staff and their step increases. You just mentioned our aides in our offices, and that's great, but you gave all our aides an increase. But we aren't mentioning all of these other people that do so much work for us. The people that are moving George Floyd Square work along, our entire IGR team, CPED staff who have renegotiated terms of our stadium obligations, saving our taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars, and many more. People in fire, people in the police department, just for example, this is some of them. This reduction was made at the expense of deferring implementation of technology projects. This reduction was made at the expense of delaying the purchase of an internal HR tech platform, ERP, that is an old, fragile government relic, desperately out of date. This will hinder the modernization of our workforce, human resource flow, and operations as we look to hire more people and retire a lot more people in these coming years. These were just temporary cuts. We still have to pay for this needed HR system and technology upgrade soon. We still need to pay, and as I said earlier, we're yet to know the cost of denying our employees, these 161 employees, their cost of living adjustments and regular progression of their careers. All we have done is kick a budget crisis down the road, maybe to next year, maybe to another council. But eventually, these bills come due, and that's on us. I'm also baffled by some sudden realization of this emergency to reduce the levy. In our councilmember budget priorities adopted in June, only two of you, Councilmember Vita and Councilmember Koski, ever mentioned the levy as a priority. And I objected to participating by identifying personal priorities in time of a budget crisis. All the other priorities were about spending. There's a real basic phrase, but to make it publicly broadcastable, I'll just say, stuff costs money. Our adopted Budget Committee work plan outlines that the Budget Committee will decide in September or October if it wants to choose to develop a position of recommendation on the levy. To my knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was never even brought up. The Budget Committee is made up of all 13 members of this body. So why, all of a sudden in December, was it the utmost importance to reduce the levy? Interestingly, a lot of the things my colleagues have been lobbying for months, the Enterprise Resource Platform, for example, was something that was cut without hesitation when it became politically expedient. Our work plan also calls for the budget chair to present this position statement to the BET, but Budget Chair Chugtai, I am unaware if that actually happened or not.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I realize that we're on announcements and not discussion, but if it's okay, since we haven't had a lot of time to just reflect on the budget and when we passed it and also today, I would just like to end on a celebratory note, actually, because I'm really proud of all the work that we did over the last 6 months. I'm really grateful to all the Ward 7 residents who engaged with me about the budget. I held a budget workshop in September. I went to every single one of the 9 neighborhoods in Ward 7 to do a budget exercise on what their priorities were. And I'm guessing that all other council members did the same. I mean, we are on the ground talking to our constituents day after day. We know what they need. That's why we amended the budget to make sure that their needs were met. And I'm really proud of the investments we made. The top things I heard from Ward 7 residents was community safety, affordable housing and homelessness, economic inclusion and recovery. Adding a crime prevention specialist in the 5th precinct is going to be huge for Ward 7. Funding emergency housing vouchers in Avivo Village is going to be huge for addressing homelessness. Making sure DTAP and Ownership and Opportunity Fund are actually maintained in the budget, as well as funding technical assistance for Uptown, is absolutely transformational for my ward. And this is my first budget year, and I feel a deep sense of pride and a deep sense of celebration today. I'm so glad that we got this done so that we don't have a budget crisis in front of us during the upcoming holiday. And thank you to all the colleagues who helped me figure out how to get through this and how to get this done and deliver for our constituents. I'm really grateful.
Thank you for that. Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to say, this budget process, I think for especially myself and others, we got a lot of work done, and I'm proud of all the work that we did. It was difficult. I think it was a very different process than I'm used to. Me and Councilmember Palmisano, we sort of come from a different culture of how things used to be, and I've had to spend the last year sort of grappling with, the ways in which City Hall are changing. I do think, however, it's wrong to say that the changes that we're seeing in this institution are a result of just council action. It's a two-way street, and I think that there was a massive missed opportunity by the administration, by the mayor. And this just isn't about finger pointing. I think both sides of our government need to sort of look in the mirror and figure out how we're going to mitigate some of the fighting. It's democracy. Fighting is kind of the deal, right? That's okay. But I think we both need to look in the mirror and kind of figure out how we mitigate some of this. How we make sure that staff aren't caught in the crossfire, how we make sure that we're not putting ourselves and others in awkward situations. But I think that it would be a mistake to say that it's a matter of political expediency when talking about the council, but not when we're talking about the mayor. I think that's a mistake. I think it's a mistake to say that the lack of communication came from the budget chair and vice chair and not from the other side of the administration. I think that's a mistake. And I think that if we're going to go hand in hand into the future and sort of double down on this effort to reconcile government restructure and change the way that we govern, that we got to do it together. And I think that more and more we're seeing a little bit of a deepening partisanship, and I don't think that council is driving that culture change. I'll say that. People can disagree with that, but I don't think council is driving that culture change. If we want to debate that, we can debate it, because I got evidence, and none of you guys can argue with me. I'll just say that. The thing that is most important here for us to recognize is that we have been told horror stories about future budgets ever since I've been in office. Ever since I've been in office, we've been told horror stories about what this budget's going to be for the next budget and so on and so forth. They've never come to fruition. I have seen some things come to fruition that I never thought would happen. I saw the city settle a $20 million lawsuit. I thought we wouldn't repeat that, only to repeat it just a few years later. And so if we want to talk about spending, how we get the taxpayers' money under control, I think we have to talk about the whole pot. We have to talk about the whole institution. And so that's sort of my call here that I'll leave us on, to say that fear-mongering on one side or the other, right, finger-pointing to one side or the other, I think is a huge mistake. I think that it would behoove the mayor to give some phone calls over the holiday. I think it would behoove us to give the mayor and some of his staff some phone calls over the holidays to figure out how we're going to mitigate this, if there's a genuine desire to mitigate this next year. I'm not always convinced that there is a genuine desire. I think some folks have calculated that the mess is politically good for them. But if that's not true, Let's work on that. Let's work on it. And so I know I'll be making some phone calls, but I also don't want to lose sight, as Councilmember Cashman said, on the things that we accomplished in this budget that are going to be good for the city. I don't need to rename them. I think your list is sufficient. I do think we could go on, but I think that for the purpose of this meeting, your list was a good list. But we've got to highlight those things, and we've got to tell that story, and we've got to talk about the ways in which we're going to be helping our constituents. And we've got to understand that the way that people experience our city is not up here on this 3rd floor up on this 5th floor. People are out there on the street living their day-to-day lives, right? And we got to keep that in mind. So that's all I'll leave you with. It's a little bit of a high note, a little bit of a low note, as is my style. But thank you guys, and I appreciate the work. And I'm glad that we won't be redoing the budget in the next 10 days.
Thank you for that, Councilmember Ellison. I put myself in queue because I just wanted to say thank you to everybody on this body. This is my first time chairing anybody in this institution this term, and it would be fun to say, what would be the right word to say? An interesting term so far. And we've been through a lot. It's been very intense, and we've all rolled with the punches, and I just wanted to share gratitude, not just with my colleagues on the dais who are elected. I want to especially share gratitude for Clerk Carl and City Attorney Anderson. I consider myself kind of a garden variety nerd. Government nerds are a different beast altogether, and we have had to become government nerds together as we are navigating, as Councilmember Ellison highlighted, some of the most profound government changes in the city's history, right? This new government structure, the fact that City Council has had to really embrace what our role is around this budget, culminating in a first time in the city's history veto of our budget, which we just overrode. This is all very high drama in a lot of ways, but also in a lot of ways, this is the growing pains. This is the learning process. This is the ramping up of the learning curve, and I've just been really grateful to chair this process and have such dedicated folks to navigate. I mean, this is really hard. This has been really hard. And it was actually really refreshing to meet with the city attorney's office over our lunch recess as we had to figure out what are we going to do if the mayor vetoes the budget, right? And to see the city attorneys kind of be excited about that conversation. You actually gave me a lot of peace to know that we were going to be in good hands as we navigated these waters. And I think that Councilmember Ellison's really only sharing the tip of what this looks like, and I think has really expressed it in a really profound way. I'm definitely welcoming the phone calls that I'll be making over this break to really say it's a new year. We have learned I'm hoping we've learned some things through this year that we can apply to next year, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I'll call on Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do appreciate our announcements here today, but it gives us an opportunity to reflect since we're taking care of this mayor override in this meeting right away. I appreciated Councilmember Ellison's announcements, and I won't fault him for insinuating I might be old in the beginning of them. That's okay, since we're philosophizing on government structure like old people. No disrespect to the Charter Commission. The council, here's where I'm at. The council should set a policy direction, and we do. And we should approve a budget that provides resources to staff to execute on that direction. We've been told with government restructure that we don't have managerial control, but we have the power of the purse. This council, this term, have interpreted that as, let's use the power of the purse to exert managerial control. And that, I believe, is the wrong interpretation. I believe that is the wrong interpretation. I won't go on Nor would I have time in the rest of my comments to list out all of the handouts that were given by this body to our favorite projects after the last public hearing to nonprofits, one after another after another. I will do so another time, but I would run out of time here today.
I just wanted to name, where was that decorum? I got mine.
Please don't describe motives, Councilmember Palmisano.
I'm questioning motives, not ascribing anything.
All right, with that, I see no one else in queue. It's been a wonderful year serving with you all. I hope you all get rest and relaxation, and we can come back fresh and anew. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.